Howdy. Howdy.
When you hear banjos playing, you know it's time for Hillbilly Holler.
Hello there, this is the Halton Hills Online, and it is the Max Tire Community Cruiser, and we're with Ivan Bosnjak, who is running for mayor. We have a big local election coming up in October, and we're discussing a few things, and Leah, take it from here.
Well, as you know, we had Ivan, we did a part one not so long ago, but of course he's running for mayor, and the amount of time that we do with these videos was not allotting the enough time that he was able to say everything that he wanted to say, so we're doing a part two now. Again, another rainy day, and here we are.
Yeah, cold and rainy. Well, we are in Canada, so.
That's it. That's it.
And we're behind Georgetown High School, by the way, Georgetown District High School, where you're doing a pig roast on this, what is it, May the 23rd today?
23rd, I believe, yeah.
And you're currently doing a pig roast.
Yeah, the North Halton Tide, under 16 and under 18 teams for football. They're having their home opener. So I reached out, I coached some of the kids, and reached out to the coaches and said, you know what, how about we do a pig roast? And
go Halton Tide.
Yeah, so the weather's not great, but should be a good afternoon.
Well, as you said, you used to play football in the rain.
Yeah.
Well,
Snow and rain.
You're quite involved with these teams.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
And she can ask the first question.
So, Ivan, we were talking previously, and one of my first questions is, how important is investing in indoor recreational facilities for local sports teams and seniors, and what are the health and economic benefits that they could bring to the community?
Wow. Obviously, we talked kind of about this. I recently had a post on Facebook on a few of the platforms, and I touched on some of the key points. As with a growing population, like I said, we're close to 70,000. I believe I think the figure is around 15,000 kids under 21 years old. And I mean, you guys have kids. I mean, I have kids. The whole strain right now of having them on the internet and watching TV, anything that could get them out. Summertime, it's always a little bit easier, but the reality of it is, in the winter, we don't really have anywhere to go. Most parents end up commuting 30, 40 minutes, sometimes an hour, depending on where the facilities are and where the clubs can get space. To me, like I said, it's one of the biggest priorities, and it's not just I wouldn't call it just a kid thing. It does a lot for seniors too.
100%.
Yeah, like I know with the agricultural building up in Acton, I've gone a couple times in the mornings just to see what was going on, and there's quite a few seniors, mothers that are stay at home, that are taking their kids out, and like I said, it's the physical activity. We live at a time right now where physical activity needs to be stressed as much as possible.
There's too much lounging around for the kids.
Yeah, so it's one of those things. I think if the town, worked with some of the clubs, and recently at one of the council delegations, or one of the council meetings, a few of the delegations from a few of the clubs came forward, and they proposed to help fund some of these projects. And I know, like I said, we all understand the economic times are not great right now. And the town is obviously, a little bit under without the ability to fund some of the stuff. So these clubs come forward. Like I know, for example, for myself, like I'm a member at Norville Croatia Soccer Club, which there's a lot of kids from Georgetown that play. It's an ethnic club, but there's kids from all diversities, all ages playing there. And we spend close to $300,000 a year renting space in the wintertime. We've said that we'd pledge the $300,000 that we spend towards building that facility, and like I said, making it something that works for the whole community. It's something that has to be done, and parents just can't commute, especially in the wintertime. The weather's not great. Fees are high. People have to go to their practices, and something like this it's a great revenue stream on top of the fact that it provides a great source of activity for a lot of these kids.
Oh,
that's awesome. So another one that pertains to some of the conversations we've had How will recent provincial legislation that is requiring the town to fund these development charges impact the local budgets, and how would you address the added financial strain?
Well, again, first of all, I don't know how many people are aware of it, but there was legislation passed within the last year by the Ford government that's now transferring all the development charges, which were initially paid for by the builders, and then they would be essentially rolled into the price of the home, and they would help the town build infrastructure in order to be able to build these subdivisions. Now that's not the case. It's been flipped onto the municipality. So, for example, the other day when we passed by that subdivision, the proposed subdivision at 10th Side Road and 10th Line, just as you're heading into Norval, they just recently reapplied for 1,100 units altogether, and plus some commercial space. And that kind of project for us on financing that could run anywhere from 30 to 40 million, maybe excess of that. That's more than half of our yearly budget.
Wow.
So a lot of that's going to be impacted with us having to go borrow money, whether it's from banks, private lenders, other establishments that that do these kind of things. As far as I'm concerned, I mean, there has to be some dialogue with some of these builders and developers. I actually just spoke on Friday, yesterday, with a developer that I work with, and we were just talking about some of these development charges issues, and I said to him, like, what do you think is going to happen? And a big reality of all of this is that I think jobs are going to be, building's going to be put on hold for a little bit, which again hurts the economy. Maybe allows Georgetown to catch up in the sense that we're lacking in some of that infrastructure, so maybe we could use some of the money that we have right now to fix things. But going forward, it's going to be very tricky. And I think a lot of these builders, because most of them have their own finance companies, I think there has to be dialogue between them and saying, hey, you know what, we understand the legislation is what it is, but at the same time, if we're going to be partners and shareholders in a town, I think maybe we can, again, borrow that money from you at a reduced rate, because we both have something to gain from it. It speeds up their building process. It allows them to close their houses earlier. And again, I think it's a win-win for both situations. But if we're going to keep floating budgets like this, using either our reserves or using high interest loans from banks, I think the town is going to fall into a bigger need for more funding. And like I said, it's not something that you can just magically make appear.
Okay, so good to know. How about, I'm going to ask you this one now. How would you reduce the town's reliance on costly private consulting firms and ensure that decisions are being made in the community's best interests without conflicts of interest?
Wow, that's a very
We'll condense it.
It's a very loaded question, because I mean, consulting has become something that's pretty much used by every municipality, every business. And I think, like I said, I think there's some value to it. But my year and a half of being at council meetings and watching council meetings and looking into,
and you go to all of them, no?
Yeah, pretty much all of them. If I miss one, like I said, I'll watch it online. But yeah, I'm more or less at every meeting.
So you're a man that studies his stuff.
Oh, definitely. So, like I said, as far as what we can do with consulting, I think there has to be a little bit more, in my opinion, anyway, a little bit more. Burden's not the great word, but I think a little bit more responsibility on our paid staff to make these decisions. I think a lot of the times they're capable of making them. Everyone, wants a second opinion, but using consultants to give you essentially a plan, I don't think works. I don't think that they're in touch with what goes on in this town. They're not most of the time they're not from around here. They're coming from Toronto, other places. It's very easy to put things on paper and make it sound good. But, I've had instances where I've talked to a few of the consultants and asked, specifically a road in a certain project that they're talking about. And, they're dumbfounded. Well, what road? I don't know that road. And it's a hard thing to make a plan when you don't really understand what the plan fully encompasses. So like I said, based on the amount of money that we spend every year on consulting, maybe one of the things that should get explored is, hiring one or two more staff in certain divisions, and making it something that we can get decisions almost immediately. a lot of the times it's very it's cumbersome. It takes time, and we need results, and we need decisions to be made right away. Otherwise, we've missed that window.
So, another question. How would you improve the tender process for municipally funded projects to reduce overspending and make better use of our taxpayer dollars?
Again, a great question. I know we talked about this briefly, but it's a big issue. Like I said, I've worked during my career. I've worked for a lot of school boards, municipalities, other large businesses, and the tender process here. From speaking to some of the local businesses, some of the local contractors, people in my circle, it's very hard to get on the tender list here. There's a lot of red tape that goes along with it, and I think, in my opinion, again, based on the fact that I've done a lot of this work, it's not something that's overly complicated. I think we just make it more complicated and cumbersome for no reason whatsoever. Listen, to pour a concrete pad that's 10 by 10 should cost the same if you're doing it in your backyard, or if you're doing it for a school board, or if you're doing it for a town.
Well, you would think so, just in volume, maybe.
Well, definitely.
Like anything else, usually they give you a break, don't they, in terms of volume?
This is the McGibbon Hotel to the left.
Ugh.
This is a brand new condo.
Can't believe it,
Some
man.
people love, some people don't. I'm not going to give you my point of view. I'm just telling
No,
you.
me
Go
either.
back again. I'm sorry, honey. You go ahead.
No, that's okay.
I just wanted to point things out for people around the world when they're looking at our town.
Our heritage Main Street.
This is our home right here.
That's
This
where
is
my
downtown.
grandparents' store was.
Right
North
on the left
Star.
there.
Where
And,
North Star is, yeah.
This is
Joe's
the
Tuck
whole
Shop.
heart. I love our downtown. I still love it.
Oh, it's got character.
It
It's got
does.
some great character.
It does.
Well, my grandparents had a store there for 35 years, so
Yeah, there's some nice restaurants, some nice coffee shops,
Beautiful.
some nice.
It is.
It's a very good mix of vendors and stores, and like I said, I think with the right work, I think it can get a lot better.
I think it's a very eclectic international food mix down here.
Definitely.
You know,
You've got
you've
from
got,
Ukrainian,
Sausages up at
Rodina.
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 I said it wrong again.
You still say it wrong.
But, we've got Huang's, we've got the brisket, we've got shepherd's crook.
So, I'm assuming
Yeah, so
we're
sorry.
good. We're good at that point. Or have you
So the big thing for me is,
more?
well, there was a big issue about 4 or 5, maybe 6 years ago, if you guys recall, with the school boards overpaying for things like install a pencil sharpener for $900. And I can tell you from my own personal experience, sometimes quoting work for TDSB, Toronto Catholic District School Board, Peel Region, there's a very almost understood language between contractors because of how the tender process goes for certain amounts. Let's say under $9,500, a lot of it doesn't get vetted by 2 people or 3 people. It's just that a certain person ends up approving it, and then the job ends up getting done. And I think, like I said, to me, there has to be almost an estimator within our own building that can tell us where we should be looking at for the price, rather than waiting for them to give us all the same price.
Okay, that makes sense. So, and one more before we drop you off back at your pig roast.
At the Georgetown District High School.
Yes. How would you balance high density rezoning and affordable housing growth with the added strain that can be placed on the existing residents, schools, libraries, recreational centers, hospitals, city services, on and on and on? What would your reply be to that how you would help out in that area?
So that's I think one of the biggest hurdles the town's going to be facing in the next 10 to 15 years, just based on rezoning applications by most builders. They're all intensifying their density. So from mid to low rise, now it's mid to high density, with high rise coming into the equation.
We just passed it.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, that in the downtown at some point almost does make sense, because a lot of seniors like to be there. It's very central to everything.
Yeah.
But in a place like on 8th Line where the fire hall is, if you look at all the applications right now, there's towers going in there, and I don't. They can fit into the right place. I just think right now the infrastructure in that area, especially 8th Line being at the way that it is, Trafalgar going through some crazy, next 5-6 years with the underpass and the widening of the road, it has to be something that is slowed down I mean, there was a 2018 master plan that has now been deviated from probably 5, 6, 7 times, if not more. What's the point of doing all these costly consulting plans, and then spending everyone's time, whether it's the staff, whether it's anyone in the town, and then all of a sudden pivoting after 2 years because the economy is the way that it is. I think if we rush too fast to just keep going at high density zoning in order to offset our tax, I guess, burden, the fact that we're not collecting enough taxes, we're not collecting enough money, I guess. To me, the taxes shouldn't even be an issue, but our problem is right now our infrastructure is so badly lacking. And to me, like I said, I would fight most projects in the sense that putting too much high density in a place just puts too much burden, and it clogs everything up. It's not something you want to do. If it's done in the right place, it could be successful. But based off of planning right now, I don't believe that we're anywhere in the right place for right now. And like I said, doing it too quickly is just going to hurt us in the long run.
And we're moving into Georgetown District High School, and a lot
So-
of folks. This is your alma mater too, isn't it?
Oh yes, I went to school here. So Ivan, is there anything just off the cuff quickly before we complete this that you would like to say about yourself, how you feel about doing what you're doing?
It's been very exciting. I go into places, I go into restaurants, businesses, bars, places like that, and people are starting to take attention. Pay attention. I've been posting on social media for a while now, and I think people are starting to kind of understand. Which, like I said, I'd love to be able to explain it even more in depth, but that's something that I'll be doing on my own. But I think the big thing for us as a town, as a municipality, I think people just need to get engaged. I think a lot of the times people don't pay enough attention, and then when things go wrong, they start blaming. There's a degree of that. I think sometimes things do fall beneath the cracks, or through the cracks, sorry. But I think the big thing that has to happen, and people just need to get engaged. People need to give the right mandate, and once you get the right mandate, follow what your constituents have told you.
There's your crew, buddy.
There we go.
Crew waiting for you to
There
turn
we
the pig
are.
over.
All right. Well, if you guys want to take a look at the pig, let me know. But
Well, I did see your photo earlier, so
Okay,
I did
so
see
perfect.
that. Very tempting to come and dig in, I must say.
Yeah, and maybe we'll be back later for some pig.
Yeah, if you guys are in the area, swing by. We'll be here. The second game starts at 7:00.
Ivan, you're a classy guy. I must admit. I wish you all the best in the election. You care. You love the community like the same as we do. And I wish you all the best. And you're going to be back on the show quite often in the future. I can feel it.
I'm looking forward to it. Thank you guys.
so
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Guys, have a great day.
Hey, it's Big Edge here, Georgetown's good old boy from New York. I'm here to tell you about Max Tires in Georgetown. Need an oil change? Max Tires. Need new or used tires? And not the ones you find at the bottom of the East River, if you know what I mean. Oh! Max Tire. 61 Guelph Street, Georgetown. 905-873-9255. And don't you forget it.